If you're just joining us, we're looking at web security essentials, and the next section is the defense systems topic. And this is all a part of the web security monitoring module inside of the SOC level 1 pathway of Try Hack Me. So we're using the Try Hack Me lecture materials for this. And everything that we've talked about so far have been, why do we need to secure the web? What does the web infrastructure look like? What does protecting the web look like? And what are the various elements of a web application, the web server, the host machine, all of those things? What do we have to do to secure them? And so now we need to talk about the defense systems that can be used in conjunction with all of the philosophies behind proper security. So the content delivery network is the main one, or the primary one, I should say. So the CDN stores and serves the cached content. I always call this the cached content, but somebody corrected me in the comments and said it's technically pronounced cache. So cached content from servers closer to the user to reduce latency. Imagine you have a main server housed in a central location. It provides information to edge servers worldwide so your customers can access data more quickly and safely. Aside from speed, it also helps a security sense by acting as a buffer between the user and the origin server. So think about it like that, right? You have a main server, and this server provides information to the edge servers so your customers can access data more quickly. Aside from speed, the CDN also helps in security by acting as a buffer. So the CDN, based on this explanation right here, sounds like the CDN is the edge server, or the servers, I guess, because it's a content delivery network. So it's the edge servers that would allow more securities by limiting access to the main server. So the security benefits of this are IP masking, right? It hides the origin server IP address, which makes it harder for attackers to target because the edge servers get their own IP addresses. And of course, the main server has its own IP address. And so when somebody interacts with the website, they don't interact with the main server's IP address. They interact with one of the IP addresses of the edge servers. It also protects from distributed denial of service. I forgot how to pronounce that for a second. Distributed denial of service protection. So it can absorb a large amount of traffic, making denial of service attacks less effective. And denial of service in general is when, a hacker or a group of hackers send a bunch of traffic to an endpoint with the purpose of denying service to legitimate users. So if we crash the endpoint, if we crash that server, for example, this main server, if we successfully crash that main server, then the real users, the legitimate users of that company can't access it anymore. They are denied service. That's what that means. So if we do this, then what happens is that we make the company lose money, right? So Microsoft experienced a denial of service, I think like the last quarter of 2025, something like that. Maybe before that. I'm not sure. Time is passing very quickly these days. I think it was maybe the year before, actually. So essentially what happened was they faced a denial of service. It was just for a day, but during that day, they lost over $100 million because the legitimate users of Microsoft could not access the Microsoft services and their network, and they probably requested refunds for things and prorated refunds, whatever it was. And so as a result, Microsoft lost $100 million, more than $100 million in a day, right? It's really crazy to think about. So that's what it's like. That's the reason behind denial of service. Now, what happens with distributed denial of service is when you have a bunch of IP addresses. So let's say 20,000 IP addresses are the ones that are sending the traffic to this server. So instead of one IP address sending the traffic to the server, there's 20,000 IP addresses sending thousands of requests each to the main server. The reason why that would be the case is because if there's just one, if I'm the attacker and I only have one server that's attacking the server, then the firewall is going to block me. And that's it. The attack is over. But if I have 20,000 IP addresses, a botnet, if I have a botnet that is attacking this server, then you can't really block all of my IP addresses, can you? It takes too many resources. So it's really, really powerful type of attack. Now, to mitigate against this, instead of using the main server, we use the content delivery network and all of the edge servers because they can absorb a large amount of traffic, making denial of service attacks less effective. You get it? So it's like once you understand how everything plays out, you can then be like, oh, okay, now I see the value behind using something like this. Enforced HTTPS, which is encrypted communication via TLS, is enforced by default by most content delivery networks, which is just basically encrypting the data that goes back and forth. So when you send your username and password, you want that to be encrypted so that if somebody's just doing a man in the middle and they're watching the traffic, they can't capture that traffic and therefore they can't find out your credentials. Then there's the integrated web application firewall, which is, Cloudflare CDN, Amazon CloudFront, Azure Front Door. These are integrated web application firewalls that come pre-installed. They come integrated into the content delivery network to secure the delivery network and all of the data of the users as well as the data of the company. So, in essence, CDNs allow web applications to deliver data to customers more efficiently and securely. So let's say this is the original server, right? Let's kind of see if we can load this up a little bit. In the middle right here, we have the original server, the main server. It's in Spain. We have a little user out here. They're in, looks like, where are they? They're in like Canada. I think that's like Northern America. So then there is the edge server. So you have somebody on the East Coast up here, you have somebody on the far west in Canada. They're both trying to access this server in Spain, but they're going through this content delivery network edge server in North America. There's another one down here in South America where the users in South America interact with. And then there's the one in Africa where the users out here, and then the one in Asia and the one in Australia. So these are all content delivery network edge servers, and so they all pass and relay the requests from these users through these edge servers to the main server, and then the main server responds to the edge server, which then will respond to the user. So this is a security mechanism. Next security mechanism is web application firewall. So these are a lot easier to understand. They're just tools that have a bunch of rules integrated in them to limit or deny access to a website. So they can be integrated as another layer of protection. They inspect incoming traffic and block or log potentially harmful requests based on security rules. And so if you have a bouncer at a bar or a club, every person or a web request that wants to enter the club must be checked by the bouncer, which is the firewall. And anybody or any request that doesn't meet the standard requirements will be rejected. You can't enter. So if we look at what types of firewalls we have the cloud-based, also known as the reverse proxy, which sits in front of the web server, and they are easy to deploy and have great scalability. There's the host-based that is directly on the web server and offers control for each application on the server. So the cloud-based, so if we go up here again, so we have the server, the cloud-based would be sitting in front of it, right, through these interactions right here. And then the same one right here, this is a server, so there's something that's going to sit in front of it. So if we zoom in here, in front would be right here, right? It's the bouncer at the front. And then there's one right here before you get to that one, right? That would be cloud-based. The host-based is sitting on the actual server. It'll sit on the server, not in front of the server. It won't intercept traffic. It'll log the traffic that goes actually on the server. Then there's network-based, which can be either physical or virtual appliances that are situated on the network perimeter, more suited for enterprise environments. So this is most likely not what's going to happen when a basic user is trying to get access to, I don't know, Google or something. Maybe Google might have a network base, but it's usually for enterprise environments, for companies that want to make sure that the data inside of their internal servers or inside of their cloud environments, things like that, are secured from network-based attacks. The functionality of the web application firewall is to inspect the requests, right? Detect anomalies, attacks, or known suspicious patterns. If it's detecting anomalies, it's a behavior-based and it's comparing against the baseline known as the normal traffic. If it's rule-based, it's looking at suspicious patterns or known attacks or something like that. And then if it detects a signature that's known to be malicious, it just blocks it, right? So these are some of the methods that are used. Signature-based is looking at known attack patterns or payloads. A request with a user agent that matches a known tool, for example, SQL map. SQL map is to map out the various attack vectors that can be done against a database, also known as SQL. SQL is structured query language, and it's the language for most relational databases, if not all relational databases. And as we've already established, databases have a bunch of information that's really, really sensitive on there. And so if I'm running SQL map, I'm trying to find ways to attack your database, right? So the signature based detection is going to be like, hey, this person is running SQL map. The only reason why they would run SQL map is because they're trying to attack our database. We're going to block that pattern. We're going to block that attack. Heuristic based analyzes the context and behavior of the request. This is not signature or pattern based, right? So it could be something like this, where it's like you're looking at a string with search for this specific script, right? And so this is, I think, what it's called URL Unicode or URL encoding, where this would most likely be the open parentheses, that would be the closing parentheses. And so if we're sending a query like this, then it's like, okay, well, why are they sending that over? This is matching a specific behavior, and we think that this is an attack, so we're going to block it. Behavioral analysis right here is specific to the actual baseline and any deviation from that baseline. So normal traffic behavior is considered the baseline. Anything that falls outside of that is a deviation or an anomaly that we see right here. And so that can make it an issue, and then we'll block that. So a single IP address makes repeated login attempts in a short period of time. And let's say that single IP address is not on our list of pre-approved IP addresses. So now we have an issue, and we need to go ahead and block that IP address and then start logging it and maybe escalate it. Then there's location and IP reputation filtering. So looking at location and threat intelligence to block IPs. IP address that is outside of your normal business area. I only interact, like our company only has a location in Nevada, and we don't get any employees outside of Nevada to try to access our servers. Why is somebody from, I don't know, Bangladesh trying to log into my server in Nevada? What the heck is going on? That's a location flag, right? Or the reputation of the IP that is trying to access us. Same thing as like this IP address is known as a bad IP address because it's on the database of a bunch of threat intelligence sources, and so we're just going to block it because it's known to be a bad IP address. This is not an exhaustive list, by the way, because the methods of attack are constantly evolving. Therefore, our detection methods are constantly evolving. But a lot of these things are all-encompassing. Like a lot of these things cover so many different subcategories that may fall underneath them. For example, anomaly and behavioral analysis is a really large category that can cover a lot of different types of attacks. So there are very many things and they're constantly changing and evolving. And as a result, so does the detection methods and defensive strategies. So below is the screenshot of Cloudflare dashboard for TryHackMe. We see all the requests for the last 24 hours, including requests blocked by the integrated web application. So where do we see the block? So prevented by the web application firewall. We have actual attacks here, mitigated by Cloudflare. Cached by the content delivery network request. We have 8.9 thousand in the last 24 hours that were requested. Served by Origin, 2.32 thousand. In total, there were almost 12,000 requests, right? And there was 331 of them that were actually detected by a firewall rule, and they were blocked. Antivirus are often misunderstood as a blanket protection measure, but they are primarily made to safeguard endpoints like desktop, laptop servers, from which they have known malicious files and programs installed on them, right? Most antivirus rely on signature-based detection, which means they compare files with a database of known malware or patterns. And web applications usually target application layers, not the host machine itself, but antivirus is an important role in the host protection as discussed in the last section. So they can help detect malicious file uploads like web shells, post-exploitation tools, and other malicious software. And they are just one layer in a broader defense in-depth strategy that should be combined with other security measures. This is a very, very important sentence. This means what? It means you can't just rely on an antivirus. You can't just rely on the web application firewall. You can't just rely on a content delivery network. You have to have all of them. You have to have the CDN, you have to have the WAF, you have to have the antivirus, right? You have to have all of these things so they work together and they have multi-layered security, also known as defense in depth. Very, very important concept. And it's kind of the answer to everything. Like if somebody comes and says, what is the best way to do X, Y, and Z? It's like, well, there's, preferred ways. Some people prefer this over the other one, but you can't really say one is better than the other. So the best way would be to have defense in depth and to use multiple strategies and multiple approaches and secure multiple layers of your entire environment. That's the best way. All right. Which type of web application firewall operates by running on the system as the application itself? And I want to say that is host-based. Whoops, host-based. I am going too fast, but I'm pretty sure it's host-based. Which common web application firewall detection technique works by matching incoming requests against known malicious patterns? So we're going to say signature-based. Let's type that out correctly. Very good. Host-based. I'm still going too fast. Come on, buddy. Okay, well, I'm pretty sure that's the answer. I'm just going to give it some time so I can retry that the answer.